I am going to be so out of tune for this. Welcome to another Rightful Icon video. It has been a long time. It has been 2 years since we actually done a recording like this.
Like, it couldn't have been
And
that. Like,
it could have been never. It felt like never. It's been 2 years. Some of us, I think both of us got new jobs actually. I've gone to Amazon to be an L4 manager, and I believe are you managing at the last job I remember you at? You're at the auto dealer manufacturing car parts.
yeah, Jake, I'm a long way from that, Jake.
Yeah, you're a long way from that. That's the last thing I
Yeah,
remember though from when we were recording.
yeah, I work with management at Home Depot now, Jake.
Yeah, it's been a long path.
Yeah,
Terribly long path. It's been a long time since we've been recording. But welcome to a Rightful Icon video where we're actually recording about a topic. We're knocking the dust off. Today we are actually talking about something that I actually have been getting intrigued by, basically through the businesses that I've been studying over the last couple of weeks, and through the issues I've been coming across as I'm working at my job. That one actually is known as consistency. And I'll leave standard tactics here. When I say consistency, what are the first things that come to mind to you? Just two things off the top of the bat.
two things: habit building and attrition, Jake.
Yes. Yes. When I think of consistency, it is delivering the same product at the same time, every time. Same inputs, same outputs. Nothing changes, right? And that is a very important concept to have in business, and it's something I want to talk about because it actually plays a huge role in how your business actually is formed. If you don't have consistency, you literally don't have a business. So today we are going to go through a couple of topics and kind of talk about the pros and cons of consistency and actually some negatives that you could actually have from focusing solely on consistency. And then there's the man, the myth, the legend. You're not even. Are we both about to introduce our cats on stream or on the video?
No, Jake, I didn't have a cat the last time we shot a video, so this is very new to me. He's interesting. I didn't think I would have to lock him away, but maybe next time.
That is so true. I forgot about Napoleon, and I'm dealing with the same thing with Bandit. Our team, we have all adopted cats apparently, but that's besides the point. One of the topics that I wanted to get into with consistency, it's something that has been a real driving force at Amazon, at least on the floor when I've been working. And the thing is, when we're thinking about consistency, a lot of people don't think about it as the basis of quality for your customers. For all of the shifts that I work, all the areas that we work, I always try to be consistent with what we are going to do. And at Amazon, it is just delivering packages. Without getting too in depth with it, another sort of idea that came with consistency was being able to actually farm microgreens. As you might have seen in a couple of the videos that we posted, I was actually doing a microgreen farm for the farm that I was working on. Amazon actually just asked me to set up a farm there as well. So it's just like, all right, that's going to be fun. But being able to have consistency through that farm was being able to actually develop a crop and make sure that it actually was grown to what the customer expected. And that was pretty much what we were dealing with when we were designing the systems. So there are a couple of interesting concepts that I wanted to go over with it. And when consistency is concerned, the main part of it was, okay, how can you design a business to do your outcomes so that you can develop all the other things that come with consistency? So, Ali, here's the thing, right? when you think of a brand, what parts of consistency do you think the brands have that they've built over time? Like, what are some characteristics of brands for their consistency? Like, let's say Nike. What do you think makes Nike consistent?
Um,
Consistent.
well, I thought consistency as far as business and brands and what they provide, I was thinking like customer expectation. Like they build a customer expectation based off their consistency. Like if Nike builds a reputation where we drop a shoe every Tuesday, when Tuesday comes around, now the expectation within the customer is, okay, I'm gonna have a new shoe being presented to my face. So when I think of that, I kind of even took it to YouTube with how I consume YouTube. I have YouTubers that I expect to drop on certain days. So when they don't, when the day comes around and I'm looking for that product, uh, if I know there's a consistent YouTuber, I know that when I go to look for that product, it's going to be there. So expectations are built through consistency, and it's on kind of the business to deliver that expectation that they built through their constant like production of product. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's very true. And being able to have that sort of delivery of a product is something that, frankly, we take for granted in our current day, where we have so many scientific improvements and how a lot of technology and a lot of quality control that actually builds consistency without even thinking about it half the time. But what really is usually a problem when it comes to consistency is more like of the startup phase of a business. Like even the Rightful Icon channel, we have an issue with consistency, don't we,
Yeah.
Lee?
That's actually why I thought this video was a great one to start with, because we're coming off such a long period of not producing, this kind of video that is a good topic to come from, because we got a lot to learn, as far as our business and building that form of consistency where we have an expectation from our client base on what we should be delivering every week. Because the customers, all they know is the product. They don't know the process. They don't know the procedures, and they don't know what goes into making the product. Really, I mean, they can look it up, but they're not there. So all they know is what's coming to their front doorstep or to their screen, or so however they consume their product. So it's on us to take care of things they don't see, and every week to make sure that comes out the best quality possible, because that's what they're expecting.
And that's another reason why I wanted to bring it up, because it's 100% true. And especially with maybe someone who's viewing this video, if you have issues with consistency, Ali is actually a fantastic person to talk about, like how he's been able to use athletic activities to kind of build consistency outside of the business. I know Ali's steady lifting most of the time, and I think that a great analog for like between business and actual like personal lives or personal life aspects is figuring out like, hey, what are some things that I do that I'm always consistent with that is in my business, and how can I translate the two? So like part of what I wrote down when I did the notes for the video was like notes about how to build consistency if you're, say, a new person up and coming, or maybe you just graduated high school or something. What are some things? And all three of my bullet points are pretty much what Ali was talking about in one way or another, before we got into it. Like one of them is just making a process.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important because there are a lot of benefits behind it too. Making the process is something that you can design around it, you can improve on it, and you can actually plan for contingencies if there's a failure. I think that's very important. To be able to pivot off of a failure is what is going to make you successful. Now, Ali, do you have an example of maybe a process that you designed yourself that you had to come across like consistency in your designs?
With Rightful Icon, I can go with, because I had a period where we were designing a lot of the logos, brands, and like designs for shirts and things. My process every day was take something you've worked on before and add one small thing to it that doesn't take away from it, but it also like improves upon it. Like I don't want to take away the basis of it. Like it's always gonna be rightful icon, so I don't want to like add something of my flavor. Like I like really like poppy things, I like colorful things, but I know that's not our brand. Like our brand's not my personality is what my customer wants. So every day it's take something small that's a little bit of you, but not enough to detract from what you're building on your brand. So every design I look at it, I'm like, okay, maybe some sharpness here or a round shape here to where it appeals to the customer, but I'm not taking away from the identity of my brand. And that became a process. Every day I was looking at a different image that we were trying to get out and convey to the customer, and I'm building that habit. And now it becomes easier looking at things that we have made before and knowing, okay, this is the direction that products we've made in the future should look, because I know what I'm looking for now, because every day I've trained my eye to look at what we're building and what I want to, deliver to my customers.
That's totally right. Um, an interesting part about consistency is it's going to change based off what business you're actually trying to start, um, or even just trying to work into. Like with us, we really, 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 really should be producing a video like once a week, just because we're sort of the brand that's on YouTube, and all of that is about social media, about attention, and part of a message. But like a different business, like say a bakery, they have to be on point every single day. Otherwise, the next day, the customers won't be able to buy their freshly baked goods that they make daily. On the flip side of that, you have, say, maybe even a retirement fund that may or may not have to deliver a quarterly report or even a yearly report to some people who aren't paying attention to their 401k as closely as they should, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to pay attention to those things are really important. Um, why did I say I know what I'm talking about. At least silence is okay, but
But
ew, we're rusty.
I want to kind of tackle where you're coming from, Jake. Another big reason that you want to build consistency is like Jake said, especially with platforms like YouTube and everything. There's new content being dropped in daily, and people have shorter attention spans than ever. So if you're not attacking your client base and building that customer loyalty every single day, you're at the biggest risk of losing that client base to something that's providing a similar product or similar ideas or similar topics to you. And it's so easy to find given our age of technology and information. So you have to, like, at this point, really consistency has to be as key as it's ever been.
That's a fantastic point. And especially with how I'm doing right now, I was gonna say since we're rusty, you don't know what skills that you actually lose over time. I mean, you'll never forget how to fall off, or you'll never forget to fall off a bike. You'll never forget how to ride a bike. But if there's a case where you haven't ridden a bike in so long, you might stumble a couple of times. You might fall again after you get onto that bike just because you haven't been doing it in so long. And of course, with our fast-paced world, there are also a couple of trends that you might miss out on if you're not posting every day. You might even be offensive if you don't post every day, depending on the subject matter or what events might occur. But there are definitely some dangers when it comes to consistency that I think are very important to go over as we go into actually running a business. That I think that we should also talk about that people really don't think are consequences of consistency if you think about it that way. One of the things that Elite just brought up that I actually wrote down was about making sure incremental changes are made. And the reason why that's important to make incremental changes, especially with like a brand like ours. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to have something that is part of you. But when you all of a sudden focus on all the details, because I think I've had to yell at you only about this. When we really focus on the details of, say, a product, perfection is not progress, especially with consistency. When you aren't actually able to deliver because you're thinking you're trying to make everything perfect, there's a little bit of a disconnect between your customers and what you're producing. Because, oh, hey, I'm trying to produce something, I'm trying to get it out there. The customers don't know what they want. I know what they want. And that is a very, very toxic kind of mindset to have, because the second you actually disconnect yourself from your customers, you're not going to be able to actually deliver what they want. You're just going to deliver your perfect product.
Yeah, like you said, that's a huge challenge, and it not only like it. How do I put this? It kind of raises the expectation, really, like because you want to deliver obviously the best product to your customer, but the longer that customer is waiting, like say take it as artists releasing a new album or something, the longer they're waiting, the more the expectations of that album's quality raises. Like if we're giving you this much time to deliver to us, then when we get it, we actually want it to be what you're telling us is going to be. But you don't know what that is, because there's always a disconnect between what they perceive as a optimal product and what you perceive as an optimal product. So you're really setting yourself up for failure, trying to deliver something that nobody knows is the best product until it gets out there, really, and you can get feedback from the customer, and then you can make your tweaks after that. That's the best. I think that's a better way to attack that. But yeah, I think it's a slippery slope where you're setting yourself up for failure in the end, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to kind of lead up to that, one of the things that I think can actually insulate you from not catastrophically failing and catastrophically like doing a failure after failure, like back to back to back, making sure that you have communication between your team is actually very important for maintaining quality control and consistency with your business. What that could mean, like especially on our team, we use we have a Snapchat group. We always Snapchat each other. We do a little email sometimes. We have Taskade, or the thing that we use for like our co-worker, no, not cooperation. I couldn't think of the word. But we have plenty of systems in place where we all can see what's happening at the same time. And based on how our group is, we absolutely will fact check each other the second something stupid comes across that doesn't really go with what we all thought this brand was going to be. And I think that's very important, being able to rely on your team to make sure that you don't go somewhere you don't want to go.
That's true, Jake. Like I said, at the end, the objective is what matters the most. Everybody's collective, effort towards that is always important. But like I said, we're always gonna have disagreements as far as where we want to go with it and what we want to put out ourselves. But like I said, the objective is like the bigger picture. Being able to communicate with everybody. This is what I want. This is what the customer wants, and then finding that like middle ground where we're putting out the best thing for everybody is always important. I love that we have a group that's willing to make sacrifices as far as their personal objectives and what they want to do for the like bigger goal of the picture. And I think that building that dialogue between the people you work with is how you put out the most consistent product, is because nobody's putting their own ego above the bigger idea that we're going for here.
Definitely. The last the last kind of danger that comes across the chart here when it comes to consistency, and you're gonna it actually is going to explain the title, like the title card for our thumbnail that we made. We asked an AI to actually generate a natural version of what consistency is, and they, as you saw, made a maple leaf. I believe that's what it was, like a maple leaf tree. And I thought about it. I was like, why would it pick that? And then I realized that when it comes to consistency, plants have this wonderful adaptation known as chloroplast that they have been using for a very long time, millions of years, right? And one of the things that I bring up when it comes to consistency is making sure that when you're building your system, you do not complicate it. It has to be simple. It has to be. A plant can replicate its own chloroplast without even thinking half the time. Well, without even focusing on it, because the plants have been doing it for so long, they're specialized in it, and it's a simple task for them. Making sure that your system is simple, that you can build on, is important because it removes a lot of excuses that you could have for not wanting to start. It can make it easy for other people to jump onto it because you've done it so well. And you can also avoid potentially costing the company something because it's more of a complicated process. You actually save money by dumbing it down, so to speak.
You know, Jake, I'm actually happy you brought the thumbnail into the picture because I like, obviously it's visually appealing, so I liked it, but I didn't really give it as much thought as you had just brought up as far as what it could mean towards consistency. Obviously, you look at it, you see it has five, I think it's five branches, and each leaf is as similar as the next one. Like that's a consistent, you know, series of things. But now that I think about it, you think about nature and how efficient and the efficiency of it. I mean, that's the epitome of consistency. Just ecosystems and how each like different part of it works towards the recycling of the next part. You have animals, and then you know their life cycle contributes to the life cycle of the next animal, and that animal's life cycle contributes towards the maybe their death contributes nutrients to the ground that produces food for the next animal that comes along. So you look at like how there's no wasted, you know, potential in nature. Nature recycles everything, so it's like an ultimate filter. And I think that's like a perfect example of consistency where every one piece contributes towards the advancement of the next piece, which makes up the entirety of it. Kind of a lot like cogs in the machine where like each cog is as vital as the next cog, even though you know the cog by itself isn't really the machine. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but
No, it does. It makes sense because every part has a role to play.
well, yeah.
And the thing is, based off of scientific theory, it all started from the same spot, and all of the cogs eventually, through consistency, were able to figure out what role they were going to play in the ecosystem as time goes on
And
because they've made incremental changes.
yeah, it's a lot about each one playing a role towards making the same product, like over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Like nature's perfected like what it does. Like nature, nobody can go into nature. Like we can clone things and we can make a lot of the same things that nature makes. But I think nature is like the ultimate perfection. Like it's perfected taking. We do it now with solar power, but nature's perfected that in plants, like absorbing energy from light and recycling it into light. And it's kind of like that idea of every part goes together towards making the ultimate like efficient product, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, I think a key word to use whenever we're talking about consistency is not perfection per se, but maybe the most optimized with the resources that we have available.
That's what I'm
At least
thinking.
that's what
I think, like I said, like optimal or efficient. Like I said, I've been using efficient over and over. I think that's like the best word that I could really think of with consistency. You want to make the most efficient like process you can make. Like it's the least waste. You're getting the most of the people and what they're putting in as far as their time and labor. So I think those are the processes that's going to get you the most consistent thing. Like nobody's overexerting themselves, nobody's adding too much or too little. And if you do that every time, you're gonna get a consistent flow of work or a consistent output of whatever product you're putting through.
that is totally correct, and that is pretty much the goal, especially with like Rightful Icon. Like our focus is to deliver consistent business sort of advice, as well as eventually make community around people being able to get their ideas out and actually get feedback on what they're doing. In the grand scheme of things, that is like how we want to actually positively affect the world. And the only way we do that is by making videos, consistently deliver on the videos, design great t-shirts with great ideas, make sure that those t-shirts get sold so that they get to people so that they can find each other, and being able to then capitalize on more and more people sharing business ideas. Because the more ideas that get shared, there really isn't a limit to how many good ideas can be told, because that is one of the few things that's infinite. Eventually new technology comes out and we're able to capitalize on it. That's just how it goes.
I want to break
But
before. Yeah, I
oh,
see you bringing everything into a tight little bow. But there's actually a challenge that I want to bring up that I want to ask you about, kind of get your input because that came to mind with me. And that's kind of when you had asked me the first time, think of words that come with consistency, and I said habit building and nutrition. I want to actually ask you about that and your kind of opinion on the burnout that kind of comes with automation that we're seeing. Like you see a lot of people like when they're put in positions, they're doing the same thing at a job every day, and they kind of lose that passion for what they're doing because they're not, they're not seeing growth, or they're not, they're not really, their creativity is being kind of pigeonholed into this process that they're doing. What's a good way to kind of avoid that? I'm sure you see it at work at Amazon, because I see it a lot at my job. Like people doing the same task every day, and they're like, they're kind of losing the motivation towards that. Because I mean, a consistent quality product is coming out at the end, but you don't have that like same as you go towards it. You see burnout. You see people not as enthused to jump into it. It's a good way to tackle that, Jake.
yeah, and I got slight goosebumps from that. But from what I was trained at school, to be able to encourage the workforce to actually participate, one of the tactics that I frankly am a huge fan of, and is like part of our company or part of the brand's ideas at Rightful Icon, is being able to allow workers to actually own the process as well as the creative freedoms behind it. If you think about it, when you have someone who's working the same job every day, all of a sudden you have a subject expert who you can potentially train up to have ideas of their own. It's okay to have ideas of your own, even on the simplest job. You never know what you can find or what you might research on your own time that you can bring to the table. If I were to ever start a business, I would always love to do something like that, where if you come up with your own idea, we'll reward you for that idea, especially if it's something that can help. Especially at Amazon, if anybody ever has an idea around me, I try to have full visibility that this is their idea. I hate taking credit to an extent, right? One of the ideas that I actually came up with, and I'll use it as an example, right? Because I get so excited. I'll try to spare some of the ideas because I don't think or some of the details because I don't think I'm allowed to share all of them. But for a process that's in our building, we have an issue with organization of the employees, right? And I'm a nerd, right? I actually am reading a book on how organization in nature is actually happening, right? It's literally a book that I pull up on the screen, and I don't know, I'll probably put it up in post, but it's about army ants, right? I love ants. The thing is, I want to take behavior from ants and I want to integrate it into how Amazon runs their business. And I'm actually allowed to do that. Well, at least I can pitch how to do that to the company and actually potentially get changes for how the area does things. That is something that's really exciting to me, and that makes me invested in it because I'm able to bring something to the table. And if it's a really good idea, all of a sudden I could potentially be recognized through the whole business because it was my idea. That is one. Yeah, I'll tell you about it after this because I can't just put it on our brand because I'll probably get sued. But that is one great way, in my opinion, is being able to allow the workers to make changes in the process that they own every single day. That would be my number one way to combat, this staleness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, Jake. Like I said, automation it's not always the most beautiful product. I mean, if you love what you're doing, you're always gonna love what you're doing. But for some people, it is just a job, and they're coming here to support the lifestyles they live. So you have to give them that like I said, ownership of what they do, and like make it their process as much as it's your process. So they don't feel kind of just roped into what the company's doing. It's what we're doing instead of what they have to do. But I love that, Jake. I like the tie-in to took it back to nature, Jake, and like the efficiency of that and how that brings out the most consistent product. So I love that little tie-in, Jake. That was beautiful.
I'll tie it in every time. I'm a nerd about nature. You know this.
Thanks.
But the thing is, I don't know if we ever were able to talk about this video idea in the 2 years that we were on ice, basically. But the reason why I bring this up is because the next video that I want to do talks about a economic idea that I love so much. The basic thing that we'll talk about in the next video is going to be about how ideas are not the things that you think they are, and how we can actually increase how much the actual planet can produce based off one or maybe two ideas, and how they've actually helped us so much. And I won't spoil it. I won't give you guys the actual information about like what we'll be talking about, but it is something. It's a theory. If you guys can guess it in the comments, I will be very happy with it. We'll probably send you a free shirt too. Or the first person to get it, we'll send a free shirt. I'll pay for it myself. But anyway, that is going to be for next video, though. I promise you we will post it within an actual timeline. We'll get a schedule put together.
They practice what we
preach. Yeah, practice what we preach. That is something we have to do. But from my point of view, at the end of the day, if you want to have something that you can be proud of, if you want to have a business that can actually be sustainable, make sure that you work on consistency. That is something that you should work into the design of your business, work it into your plan. I think that'll really make sure that you can set yourself up for success. Ali, would you have any closing statements?
I just want to say it feels great to be back, and just a reminder, the 90-day rule takes 90 days for an action to become a habit. So give yourself that time period and really focus on yourself and what you want to like become consistent with and what you want to build your habits around, and give yourself those 90 days to really like let it let it dive in and really become a part of your lifestyle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, we really got to stop coming up with topics to talk about in these videos. But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to the video. We will make sure that we get you that next video as soon as possible. It's Rightful Icon. See you later.